personal power, people positive, the community of connection. This is the Bob Jeswald Show.
Today is a wonderful day. When this podcast is airing, it was Mother's Day weekend, okay? But what you're going to find out today from an incredible author, Vivianne Knebel. She is best known for her highly acclaimed memoir, From Rubble to Champagne, is going to share with us today about how critical it is to remember mom every day. Every day should be Mother's Day, even if our mothers have passed, because from this story of survival and struggle she talks about, and the success of this book, I got to tell you, which turned into a documentary called The Unimportant Girl. And Unimportant Girl, it tells Vivianne's remarkable journey is what it does. And it started in the ashes of Nazi Germany and the aftermath of what we've only read about, of course, in our textbooks in high school and wherever we were learning about history of Nazi Germany. And Vivianne was raised by a single mother, and she has like these incredible 4 points that she reflects on throughout your life. And when did mom pass? How long ago did your mom pass?
My mother passed over 20 years ago.
Okay, but it's almost as if she's still here, Vivianne.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Because she left her body, but her spirit is with me. I feel her close to my heart at all times. And when the person is gone, their spirit is with you. You know, their spirit is with you. I can feel it. And I always thank her for all the good values she's instilled in me. And I have a lot to thank her for that, how I turned out.
Do you
dream? And I like myself, how I turned out.
Can I tell you, I like how you look. You turned out really well, and I mean this and so sincerely, you are a remarkable. I would never have thought for a minute that you would even go back to that time. I mean, you're obviously were born, you had to be born into...
I'm going to be,
I'm trying to ask your age.
I'm going to be 80 in 3 days. I'll be 80 years old, and I'm looking forward to that phase in my life.
If anybody is listening to this on an audio file right now, you got to go to YouTube and check out this episode of the Bob Jeswald Show with Vivianne Knebel, because you would never believe it. I would never believe it in a heartbeat. You're amazing, and you've been obviously doing something right. And you mentioned it to me. You said, Bob, it's the way I live my life to be this way, and it's that spirit of your mother that's within you. But what is it that's making you so vibrant? I mean, besides the fact that you ran marathons once upon a time.
I think what my mother instilled certain values in us, and she always said, look at the beauty in life, and always have hope, and have it always never give up on a dream. So we were raised to be positive and optimistic, and that would cheer you on in everything you do in life. You know, so it's a mindset. And also have love in your heart. Don't think ugly thoughts. Just have beautiful thoughts. Have the right mindset. Play the right thoughts in your head. And I think that reflects on your outside.
It
really does.
It's very,
I think so.
If I may say, it sounds very Christ-like. Of somebody who follows a Christian faith, you almost have that biblical sense. The way you're saying this, it almost sounds like it.
Yes, even though I'm not religious, but I'm deeply spiritual.
Yes.
And I do believe in a higher power. We all are a part of a higher power, and we need to connect with that power. And I think that's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
I feel God within me, and I'm constantly connected.
And that, in a sense that I would say in my faith, it's almost like you have the Holy Spirit with you, with your moms there too, and everything else, which is remarkable. You said us. Mom raised us. You have siblings. How many?
Yes, I had one sister.
One sister.
And we were both illegitimate children. So we were raised by a single mom who was a free spirit, but motherhood was her true calling. She had instilled such good values, the moral values of empathy, kindness, and she did everything right. So I thank her for that greatly. And, the world is constantly changing, but a mother's love is always, it is always there.
Do you find yourself dreaming about your mom? I mean, I just lost my mom recently back in February of 2023 during this podcast. I was with her when she passed, and it was remarkable because, like you said, they say, and I know Scripture even says too, sometimes too, there's nothing more powerful to be with the woman who brought you into this world. and
In the
you
end,
and I'm
yes,
there when she was leaving, and I
yes.
felt that connection. It was really remarkable, and we had a lot, and that's another podcast for another time. But
I know what you're
you know
talking
what I'm
about.
saying?
I went through the same thing. I flew from San Diego to my mother. I didn't even know she was going to pass away. She just did not feel good, but I had this incredible urge. I have to go. I have to go and see her. And so I went, and once I arrived, she stayed. She didn't. She was up and greeted me and all that. But the next day, she would not get out of bed anymore. It's like, now you're here, and I was with my mother until the end. And yes, there is something very special, and I think it says that is also the quality of our end, the relationship we have with that person. That
Absolutely.
will determine the quality of the end, because she was surrounded by love.
And that's what it is. It's like infinite. It's incredible, and it's with
Yes,
you
it's
forever, as you
infinite.
describe in your book. You say this is forever. How do you explain to somebody who maybe had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship? You say,
With
I always say, like, wedlock. You're born out of wedlock. I guess your mom, you didn't know your dad, is what I understand, and
right,
um
right, right.
and mom was a free spirit, so to speak. But it goes to show you. There's something about moms. Not that a dad, when a single dad can do the same thing if mom was lost or passed away early, but there's something.
Some men are great. Yeah,
Yes,
some men are great, but mostly in
mo-
mother, it's innate.
yes,
The
it's
mother
innate.
is a
That's the word I'm trying to
nurturer,
find. It's so natural,
has
right?
that sense of responsibility. The nurturing. That is the great facet of love. Love has so many facets, but the nurturing part, that
Hmm.
beautiful love, that only a mother can have. That that depth. And I do have to say, my mother raised us, my sister and I, single. She was a single mom, and we went through this. I was born in the height of
Hmm.
Nazi Germany, but I only remember the aftermath. And I remember how my mother we would cuddle up on cold nights, because hunger and cold was a constant in the
Oh,
aftermath
sure,
of
absolutely.
World War II. We would cuddle up, and actually the only warmth I ever felt was in the arms of my loving mother.
Wow.
That was the only warmth I felt, and she was so strong, and she, she protected us from falling bombs and Soviet attacks, and she worked in the black market to make ends meet, to get food on the table so we have enough to eat. She was on one of the during one of the bomb attacks. My sister was separated from us. My sister was a little over 2 years older than I am. She got separated from us, and for 10
Oh,
days
that must
my
have been
mother
horrible.
searched for my sister. Can you
Oh, I
imagine that?
can't imagine that. Not during that time. It would be she would have killed by
No, she did.
or
She,
something
you
happened. Yeah.
know, and so for 10 days she searched for her, but she found her in a school that was uh, made into a makeshift, you know,
Hmm.
place where people could find refuge. So she found her. So that was a great thing. But she went through all that. She showed such strength, such resilience, and I have much to thank her
Post-war,
for.
in that rubble, and you're seeing all that as a young girl. Your sister's lost. You're going through all this, and then you say from Rubble to Champagne. The title of the book is so perfectly stated, because where you're at now in your life, it's like, has it always been champagne, or do you find is it champagne because you're in Southern California now? As you smile, the weather is
No,
beautiful there.
it's been
Yeah.
it's been champagne since I met my husband,
Okay.
who um, uh, helped me, believed in me, and helped me to believe in myself, and encouraged me to learn and grow. And I became who I am, um, successful through my husband. The
Is that him
success came
behind you?
through.
Who's that picture behind you? Is that
No,
who?
that is an artist.
Oh,
It
okay.
is just a
Very
sketch of
deep.
an
Yeah, you see him.
artist,
He's
an
looking down.
Italian
I'm like, yeah, it's
artist.
yes.
Yes, it's a very. No, my husband is still alive. He's 84 years old,
Okay.
and this book was my gift to him for his 80th birthday, to thank him for all that he has done for me, for making me, making this life possible for me. So I call this the champagne life, but the rubble, I literally came out of the rubble.
And that rubble
you know.
is what made you who you are today. Imagine if that rubble
Yes.
never happened. Let's just say it never happened. You think you would still be the same Vivianne
No,
today?
no. Bob, I really believe that our hardships, our struggles, our challenges, we have to see the higher value in that. They
Yes.
make us resilient.
I believe
These
that. Yeah.
This challenges are part of life. Without challenges, there can be no life. So if we wouldn't go through this, we'd still be in the sandbox. We
Yes.
need to experience those things, and I don't wish to. Certainly, I don't want this to have to go through something like that again. Would not
No.
wish that to anyone, to my children, or anyone. But I'm still grateful I went through it because I learned so much through that.
That's the truth. I
Through
mean,
that
yeah, if you don't
struggle.
fall, to get up, you can, and it's the appreciation too. It's the appreciating those good things in life. Certain things
The
can
gratitude.
gratitude
The
and
gratitude
right. That's
comes
and we
in, yes.
miss so much of that. I mean, I look around today and I see so many people that, they'll. And I've said this before. People's pain, my pain, and your pain could be two different pains, but my pain is what I've only experienced, so mine is going to be extraordinary from my point of view. From you, you could say, "Geez, if I had Bob's pain, that would have been chump change." But we have to know everybody has that. But a lot of people have to understand and reflect and find those good things that came out of it. It's clear that when you would you call it the time that when you left your mom, you and your sister, were you in Germany? Did you meet your husband? Was he in Germany, or did you meet him here in the United States, or how did you
Yeah,
get over here?
mother again, a mother. It is amazing. She got in touch with one of our old schoolmates, and in Berlin, who just had returned from Siberia. He was imprisoned 5 years in
Oh,
Siberia,
wow.
which was horrible, and that changed him as well. War changes people; it hardens
So
them.
this is like the late
You know,
40s. He's returning now, if you can picture that,
yeah,
probably, and
yeah,
coming back from
yeah.
as a prisoner of
And
war.
so she married him in order uh, um, to immigrate and to the new world, to Canada, in order to seek for a better life, for her children. So this was not a marriage, loving marriage, but it was a marriage out of necessity. She needed someone to feed her children.
Isn't that amazing?
So
Wow.
yeah, so mothers will do things. She sacrificed things for her children,
Was she
so
happily
her
married?
children could.
Did you say that in
She
the
was
book?
very unhappy in the marriage.
Yeah.
It was a bad marriage. Again, Bob, I learned a lot through that, because I said to myself, I observed, and I said to myself, I will not live this kind of a life. When I grow up and I get married, it's going to be I'm going to have a harmonious relationship. I will not have these fights and so yeah, and I did exactly that. So she even taught me there what not to do.
Sure.
You know,
Sure. So
so
how
you
old?
learn sometimes even
Yeah,
that
even when
one.
you do that, what not to do. She's demonstrating this for her. She made like such a sacrifice for you and your sister. Knowing this, they still instill so much important values. As you talked about kindness, you talked about empathy, honesty, compassion, sacrifice. I mean, that too. I mean, your mom sacrificed to even settle
Yes.
with a guy that she really probably didn't want to be there, but she needed someone to help provide so you guys can be fed. When did you and your sister independently, when did you pull away? I know mom was probably still in Germany. I'm assuming she never did. She didn't leave, right? Before she passed,
Oh yes,
she
yes.
came here in the States.
My mother immigrated with her old schoolmate who she married,
Okay, so
and they immigrated to Canada. And I was 13, and my sister was almost 15.
okay,
And so we immigrated, and when we were on the boat, the boat entered the water. Then I still cried,
mm-hmm.
because I left everything behind that was familiar to me. And even though the country Germany did not accept me as a German citizen because I was an illegitimate child, the law was such you get the citizenship of the father. So I was a girl without a country, and that was also did not help my self-esteem, and it felt worthless. It made me feel worthless. So
Especially
she
as a
did.
teenager. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, all these things affect you. they make a mark on you, really. So when we immigrated to Canada, the first winter we were still suffered. The first winter we still went hungry because he couldn't find work. Although he was a hard worker, I have to give him that. Uh, but we were not in command of the language, and
That was my
we
next thing
ran
too.
out
You
of
didn't
food.
speak English
Yeah,
yet, and Canadians. It
it was
depends what part
tough,
of Canada is
tough.
French. There's some French-speaking folks there, and there's
Yeah,
English,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, what do you? I
yeah,
mean, what is going on here? And
yeah.
because of that, you did have that. So you had to go to school. So there's. I'm just thinking, you're 15 years old. You think of the kids today,
I was
13,
13.
13,
I
even
started to
younger.
work when I was 14.
You're 14 years old. And that's when in this country, it was Social Security, I think you can get at 14 years old. I remember getting my first Social Security card at 14. I was doing some work on a farm. But there's a lot in that. But you're coming here not speaking the language and in North America. And you're feeling lost, a child without a country, you feel like you have no identity. That's tough on a 13-year-old, because now it's all. Can you imagine today? I mean, you identify yourself like who you are because you have all these things, and
Yes,
you come in here. But again, it's that's constant factor of mom being that same threshold with, I'll call him stepdad, or her high school companion, and then you guys eventually get over here. When were you? How long were you a Canadian citizen after that? Because you got your citizenship in Canada, or was it just only in America?
my mother got the Canadian
Okay,
citizenship,
so she's Canadian. Okay,
and I married then my husband at the age of 20, and we then I met him in Canada, in Montreal, Canada, and we then immigrated to the United States. And
wonderful.
I always wanted to be an American citizen.
That was your
I had
dream,
such good
really? That's
Yes,
great.
I had such good experiences with American men. In fact, I wanted to marry an American because it
Yeah,
all goes back
to
to
Nazi
my
Germany.
early childhood.
Hmm.
1948, Berlin was cut off. It was surrounded. And so the Americans launched a year-long airlift to drop food and supplies on our city.
Hmm.
And I remember that was my first experience.
That's
I think they
wonderful.
were brave and open. To this day, I think they're brave and open-hearted people. And I remember sitting on the laps of American soldiers, and they're giving candy. I always thought the world of Americans,
What an
and I wanted to
incredible.
be an American
Oh, that's great.
citizen. And my husband and I, we decided then to become it, and I became very emotional.
Oh, I can
That I
imagine.
had the first time the real sense of belonging.
That's exactly where it brings you today. I love it. That's the champagne. The champagne,
Yes,
yeah. I can say it
yes,
in Francais.
yes,
Did your
yes.
husband speak? He speaks a little French, I would think, if he's from Montreal.
He was fluent
Yeah,
in
fluent in
French
French. Yeah.
and English, and that's why he was transferred by a company. He wasn't the immigrant the sort of immigrant that searched for a better life. He was just transferred because he was in command of 3 languages. Montreal was French speaking, and so on, and they opened a new factory there. And so they needed him for that. And so but he also went through a lot of hardships, of course. But we connected because we both we are children of the war.
That's fantastic.
That's how we connected.
Did mom stay in Canada even all these years, even
And
20
my
years
mother
ago?
stayed
Yeah.
in Canada,
Okay.
and I had the good fortune. My husband, I always said, even as a child, Mama, when I grow up, I'll buy you a house. I'll do all kinds of
Oh,
things. You know
yeah.
how a child
Sure,
dreams.
sure.
I always thought I wanted to do the best for my mother, and we were this unit of 3. My sister, my mother, and I. We were this unit of 3, and it was such an incredible bond. And I was able to do good for my mother, to take her on trips, to take her to Hawaii, and she came 2 times a year. I let her come and stay here. She came out to California. She stayed with me always 2 weeks, and I doted on her, and I was able to make good. And I was fortunate to have a husband who committed. He supported me in this commitment.
I can see that.
That's
Yeah.
not always the case.
No.
He's such a good soul, my husband. And so I thank him for that as well. But I had many beautiful years still with my mother as after we immigrated. And in the end, like I said, I was able to be with her, but I owe her a great deal for always instilling, always say, there's so much beauty in life, even though our surroundings were dark. It was colorless.
Oh,
The aftermath of World War II Berlin was black, colorless, and she still reminded us, open your eyes. There's so much beauty. She could see a crack in the cement, and the little plant find its way out there. She'd point to that and say, "See, look, God is everywhere. There's so much beauty. Notice it."
That's so she's directing you here. I love that. I love that, because you got to always look at the glass half full, not empty. And she's pointing out these little things, like how vivid that is to see that plant come through. I can picture that.
Yes.
And that's perfect. Is that mentioned in the documentary on you? I can't remember, because is there a little piece of that in there in the documentary that Mom would point you, even the crack in the concrete, to see life coming out of it?
I don't know that I think I might have written that in my second book, where I wrote Lessons Learned About Life and Love. That was my second book that came out. But I definitely, and I have these pictures, these photos, these black and white photos everywhere from my mom. But even when she was still alive, and when she came to visit, she said, "My goodness, you must really love me a lot. I'm everywhere."
What about those?
So I let her know.
You let her know that. Yeah, you did. You let her know that, which is great.
And I think also, Bob, it's very important that we let our mothers know how we feel, how much they mean to us, what an impact they have on us, or had on our lives, while they're still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's do it while they're still alive.
I'm glad you said that.
Wait until they're gone. And I think that's a very important factor. I have a friend who wrote a book. He's an author. He wrote "This Is the Moment." He traveled around the world for 1 year just to thank people who made an impact, had a positive impact on his life, who helped him advance. And now he has this movement, Say It Now. And this is what I think is very meaningful. Say it now.
Yeah, say it now.
Say to those people, to those people what they meant to you while they're alive. When they're gone, they won't hear you.
You never focus. I never hear you say anything, and not saying that Mom, there was anything negative about Mom. The only thing maybe that, the relationship she had that was kind of hard to witness as a young child, to see Mom and your stepdad.
It was very hard to witness. It was very hard to witness, Bob. But nonetheless, in the end, there's still gratitude on my part to see I learned from this.
Yeah, so don't take all the negatives. So see, because there's going to be negatives with all parents. I mean, I had tumultuous moments with my mom, things that in her relationship, she kind of gravitated towards that same kind of domineering personality, and I'm using Italian-American, but Italian traits that my mom was comfortable. My grandfather's family was from Sicily, very different, strong-willed, they had that. And my mom kept mirroring that same, my dad, and divorced my father, and then back to my stepdad, who just passed. And she would complain about it, but yet, like you said, you saw something like, I'm going to do something even better and kind of move away from it. But then again, my mom gave me all the things that I do well today that stick with me. And and perhaps you're saying this now, and I'm kind of bummed, because maybe I should have said it a little bit more. I think that's what you're saying, remind your moms, anybody out there, thanks. I did tell her. She would get really mad. It's kind of funny. Like, she would see things on Facebook, and if I would mention something about somebody else, she goes, "Well, you don't say that about me." And sometimes I didn't, because Mom, I'm not talking about you right now, but yeah, of course you did. I mean, I'm the product of you. You had a lot to do with my development.
Thing to say no, but
wished
you would have said it to her.
I wish I would have said it a little bit more, and I did. When she was passing, she was fully, acutely aware. She was in tune to what was going on. She was in control. And I was able to say that with her as we did prayers with her and said things, and she was ready to see my grandfather. And I even I quipped and I said, "Tell Grandpa, I believe this. Where you're going, Mom, tell her, tell Grandpa that I'm still driving his 2002 Buick Century." So it's still working.
You connected with those that had already passed, but there is a connection.
Yeah, there's no
a connection.
I believe
the Spirit
that.
is always with us. But I believe that the negative things, I always see when I'm right in the middle of something negative. All I do is look for the crumb of good.
Oh yes, the crumb of good. I'm going to remember that.
Concentrate on that crumb of good, and that good will grow. That is my philosophy in life. Is look for the good that remains. Even if things are miserable, things get better. You
Yeah,
know, things can get better. And use your hurt, your painful moments as powerful tools to help others, which I do now, because my mission is to help those that feel defeated and suppressed and give them hope. Hey, you know, this can be done. This
yeah.
can be done. I did it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm thinking of, and of course, you're old enough to remember this. Remember the Beatles? Were you a Beatles fan at all? The Beatles. Think of,
Yeah, all the teenagers, of
of
course. Yeah.
course, you were a teenager.
Although I
I
didn't
wish
have
I was
much
your
of a.
age for that back then. But even as a young, I mean, I listened to Beatles. I was like 5, 6 years old when, of course, when Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band came out. They're, great album. But there's a song in there that the Beatles sang. It just popped in my head. You got to admit, it's getting better. It's getting better all the
Better.
time.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you got to
yeah.
admit, and that kind of, I'm seeing that song with you right now. I
Yes,
kind of get.
it's always see possibilities
Mhm.
instead of problems. And that is just my mindset. And you have a love and a zest for life when you're like that, I think.
Yeah, I would say I concur, and that makes a lot of sense, and it's very germane to make that point. Knebel, I'm just curious too. Knebel, is it your husband's? It's German too.
Yes,
So
very German.
so his
Knebel.
is he?
Knebel is a German name, and he is German, and he had went through a lot of hardship, but he had a stability in his family. I had none. You know, my mother said to me, uh, with my whole life was our life was chaotic. You know, my sister, my mother, and I, our life was completely chaotic. But and I every child wants stability. I craved stability. And my mother later on, when she came to visit me and she looked at my life, and my gosh, you know, she was so thrilled
Oh, I'm
that I had
sure.
such a
So
good life.
60
Um,
years of married, and you're like, look where you're at. The
yeah,
champagne.
she thought that was so good that it was great that she got to see that, you know,
I'm
that
so happy she did, and she would visit. She'd like to come down to Southern California
come
and send her down here.
came to
Yes.
visit and always was in the best mood. My sister said, and my sister lives in Toronto as well, where my mother lived, and she said she's only in a good mood when she can come and visit.
I was never in a good mood when I would travel on the Queen E from Buffalo, New York, where I grew up, and I would be
Oh,
driving in rush hour. And the Queen E only has like those 4 lanes. You go San Diego, you got the 6 lanes. You got Atlanta, where
yeah,
I'm outside of Atlanta, and we got 12-lane highways and all. But you go to the Queen E, it's like, give me more lanes. And Toronto, Ontario is a
yeah,
huge city. It's like a New York City, and it's like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
But I love my Toronto
No,
Blue Jays. Love my Blue Jays. I grew up. I love the Toronto Blue Jays.
yeah, yeah.
But
No, it's a wonderful city. My
yeah,
whole family is there, but
yeah.
even though I was just we were miles apart, my mother and I still we saw each other plenty. I went to visit her. She came twice a year to visit me. I took her on trips, and I was good to her, and I'm so glad I got to do that.
I think
You
that's a
know,
good lesson for everybody to learn here today. I'm just hoping that if you could take just a moment out and from Rubble to Champagne, but you had a tumultuous time, you and your sister growing up, and chaos in your life, post Nazi Germany, and just the way you create this image of black and white in your book. It's funny because when you see old photos, they were in black and white, so it's like almost the reality. And is that black and white figuratively speaking, or did you physically see black and white?
actually, see
Yeah,
I saw the
the
world
charred
devoid of color.
color. And that's
I
something.
saw the world
Wow.
devoid of color. That is it. And I remember then when my mother was here, how when she saw my success and she said, you know, all our lives, in your childhood, it was rocky, very rocky, up and down, and she kind of made the movement like you stabled the boat. With you, everything is going stable, and I need that. I
Yeah.
need
As
it.
much as you hate,
You know,
yeah,
my
proves it. It proves that I just wanted to say it proves that how your mom's love, to what she did, despite your surroundings and despite your environment, despite the chaos in your life and the disruption, you came out so good, just like your husband who had a stable environment. And you see people come out of stable environments not so stable, but in
yeah,
your case,
yeah.
it really, it just speaks volumes of how this base,
This
it was
Yes,
love, and
I
it made
think,
a
Bob,
huge difference.
love is I think it's the greatest source we can aspire to. I think for me, love is number one. It is filled, and it's not always I'm not talking about this physical love. I'm talking about the kind of love, loving without an object.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Accepting and not always expecting, and stop this moralizing and judgments, all that. Without that, if you carry this kind of love, then it is experiencing the harmonies of life.
Amen. I'd say that to that
That
from
is
my
what
church.
you do.
Yeah,
You
that's
go
right.
through
Yeah.
life and you
Yeah.
experience the harmonies of life, and that is also will reflect on your outside. The way, I walk around and people smile at me. I often say that people, I get these friendly faces looking, and then I wonder why this. But I think it's because I probably exude a contentment myself.
I love. That's a perfect place to
I
just
think
kind of. Yeah.
I think it
That's.
is what it is, because I
Yeah.
go through life with amazing, a profound sense of gratitude. I go through life with great awareness, and I don't have to make a gratitude journal, although I think it's a great thing for people to do. Gratitude is with me all the time. As I go through each day, I go through it with awareness, and I'm grateful for everything. I remember when we were, oftentimes we went hungry in that aftermath of World War II. My mother, when she cut a bread, she would always take the knife and make the sign of the cross. She blessed the bread. It is something that you don't just eat the bread. This is special. There's so many people out there that are hungry, and she instilled in us in that. Instilled that gratitude in us. She always said, "Be grateful for this." And there's so many people who have absolutely nothing.
She had
And
she had her
when you think
clearly
that
she
way,
had her faith. I mean, there's no. I mean, I see so many
oh,
overtures of her
absolutely,
faith.
deep faith,
Was she? What was
deep
her? Was
faith.
she? I assume she had a Christian belief, or was she more?
Actually, she was not. She didn't. She was not as far as belonging to a religion. Yes, we were baptized Catholic, but
Okay.
she did not raise us in a way that we had to go to church every Sunday. But she believed that the religion was within you.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
no,
God
I
is
just
within you. Just
very
be
remarkable.
all the, you know. Actually, what she taught us was the Ten Commandments, without
It's a
saying them.
foundation. Yeah, there you go. Yes, without saying yes,
You know,
yes, I totally get what you're saying. If
and
we had more
we
of that
got it.
today, what a difference this world would be. Because this goes beyond just the love of your mom, and just to see how you tackle life every day with everything you do is really profound, because it's actually setting the stage, telling you way we should all be behaving and where we should all be today. We wouldn't be having these
And
problems.
we would have such a good life, and we can.
Yes.
I honestly can say I have that inner dignity of living a truly loved and fulfilled life. Everyone wants that, and we can
Absolutely.
all have it, but we have to start somewhere. Go,
Right.
turn inward, do the work from within.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Start
Yes.
working on yourself.
Yeah.
Where are the values? After your safety needs are met, you can turn inward.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
what can I do? Ask, what can I do? Instead of what can I get?
Oh, you
An
just hit the nail
awareness
on the
of
head. You
service
hit the nail
that
on the head.
expresses
Oh yeah,
love.
yeah, yep. And that's the part
That's
that's today's world. What can I get? What's in it for me? I
it's
don't want to
always
put the
that,
work
yeah.
in, but I want it right now. And coming from to Rubble to Champagne, your book kind of gives us that whole round. I think it would be a great gift. Give to mom anytime. It doesn't have to be Mother's Day weekend, but it would be
I
great
think,
to
yeah, it
learn
touches.
catch
It will
this.
touch people.
Yes.
It will develop empathy, and this book has been turned into a documentary, and I hope it will develop empathy, because there's a great deal of humanity depicted in the book and in the film.
Yeah, and
And
unimportant girl. I mean, do you still see yourself as an unimportant girl?
the strange thing is, Bob, not at all.
Okay.
I feel I have great importance now, but I felt all my life, as a young girl, a child, and as a young girl, very unimportant, because it goes back to not having a father, not being accepted in a country, being
Yeah.
illegitimate and girl without a country, not doing well in school because I had a different learning method, condemned dumb by my teacher to my mother. You know what that does to
Oh no, it
a
doesn't.
child's psyche?
Yeah. You see, I'm
It just,
getting
I
more.
was down.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
now I've become strong. I found my power,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm from the weakest link, Bob. I
Yes.
became the strongest, and now in 3 days I'll be 80.
I can't
I'm
believe it.
so
I'm when
looking
you see this,
forward to
you
this next phase in
please.
my life.
I
I'm
love.
really looking, and I'm writing a book. I'm right now. I'm on a manuscript for my third book, and it'll be probably, I might call it the final act.
Okay.
I want to show people how to age well instead of just merely going old, going old.
I can almost say
Getting old.
it's like, yeah, I love it. And it's almost like you're revealing. So it's like almost your version of Revelation. This is where we are now. The final.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that'll contribute a lot to people, because a lot of people, our population is drastically increasing of the elder,
Sure.
65
We're
and
living
over
longer.
is drastically increasing. And we all experience the same world. We all have the same feelings.
Been married
Bob.
60
And
years, and you're living in Southern California, and your life is
58.
58. Okay, I gave you
years
2
I'm married,
extra.
yeah.
But how,
Yeah.
you met at 20? Is that what you were 20 years old when you met, or how old?
At
Yeah,
20,
20.
yes.
Yeah, 20.
Yes.
And
And so
I'm just I'm just taken aback. I mean, if you don't go to YouTube right now or WRBL.com, those are our 2 places where you can see Vivianne and see this wonderful woman and see the radiance with you. It's encouraging. It should help anybody out. It's applicable to moms, absolutely, because that's your journey and your story, how she laid the foundation for you and taught you what you needed to know. And I agree with you 100%, clearly. But even the way you approach everything else, very helpful for those who feel like you're going through any kind of struggle. The rubble in your life, don't let it fall apart, because look for that crack and that life coming through, and you can find it. That's what your mom always told you.
Future.
Your
See
future. See the future. Go for it. Yes.
Life is not. It is not. It's not going to stay that way. It is. It will change.
That's great.
It will change. Have hope. See a future. Have a dream. Pursue it. And like I said, Bob, many people see aging as decay. I see it as an emerging energy to do something new. I wrote my first book at the age of 76. I'm on my third one now, and I'm giving back with a message in my books. I feel I can help people and better their lives, and that gives me purpose. And life is about purpose.
There you go.
And also it's a quest for meaning, not just for pleasure. And we need to think about that, and then we will really be fulfilled. I wish this for everyone. I love myself, and it sounds kind of strange when I say that, but what I mean with that, I love the way I have evolved, that I found my way, that I walked that long path to self-discovery and self-fulfillment. I love who I am. And I think when you love who you are much more loving toward others. You're capable to love others even more.
And that's why you have a successful marriage. It works both ways for your husband, because when you can't love back if you don't love yourself, how can you or give a part of yourself to someone else so they can, you got to feel that, and you got to know that, you got to feel good about it.
Giving and receiving. It's the most natural thing. It's like breathing in and breathing out.
Absolutely.
It's when you really think about it, just observe nature.
Yes.
It's amazing what you can learn.
Oh, I love it. We learned a lot with you today. Our author today, Vivianne Knebel, is our best-known, highly acclaimed memoir, From Rubble to Champagne, working on her next book. Started at 76 years old. Here she is going to be 80, and she looks fantastic. She was once an unimportant girl in documentary, but she'll tell you today she loves herself, and now she's quite important indeed. This is a takeaway for everybody. Vivianne, thank you so much. Don't leave, because we're going to get some more information, but I want everyone to know you got a nice link here. Learn more about Vivianne, how you can get her book, find out, so you could be inspired. Maybe give a copy to mom anytime, because it's Mother's Day every day, according to Vivianne, and the spirit lives in within you. Thank you so much, Vivianne.
Thank you for having me, Bob, and it was a pleasure to be in conversation with
Oh,
you.
you too. It's been wonderful, remarkable, and you really enlightened me tremendously, and I appreciate that. Tell your husband congratulations and a happy more years to come. That's for sure. And you can
Yes,
check it out
yes.
on social media. But let's go to any place where you get your podcast. You can get it right here at Apple iHeart. You can get it over at Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast, we're there. We're on YouTube as well. The video portion, you can see Vivianne. And you at WRBL.com. Every Wednesday, we stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow me there at B. Jeswald WRBL. You'll get some clips with Vivianne and myself. And we'll see you later. Vivianne, I'm in Southern Cal. I'll look you up, okay?
Thank you. Yes, please do.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
You,
And you're
Bob.
here. You're welcome to come anytime, you and your husband. Love to host you.
Thank you so much.
You too.